For the second time, I call the member for Balmain.
Thank you very much, Mr Assistant Speaker. I rise to address the Passenger Transport Bill on behalf of the Greens. Excuse me. And
Green, there's only one of you.
and I would like to take the opportunity to address a few of the issues in the bill. First of all, can I say that obviously the introduction of the booking apps has allowed more of a relationship between registered drivers and customers, and that's a positive thing. We know, of course, that nothing as vaguely innovative that would ever come out of the Taxi Council, and it's positive to see some interesting moves by industry to see if they can help improve what has been a moribund industry, I believe, for some time. Obviously, we need to make sure that there is a very clear process for the application-based booking market, and I trust that the government will ensure that passenger safety and the well-being and incomes of taxi drivers will be recognised as important and in fact key elements to any future use of these more versatile ways of engaging drivers with customers. I also note, Mr Assistant Speaker, that there's been some action on taxi surcharges. The racket, quite frankly, the scam that's Cabcharge, hopefully will come to an end in this state. We know that Cabcharge was subject to adverse findings in the federal court in 2010 for their anti-competitive and their behaviour, their predatory pricing behaviour, and I understand the settlement to resolve these behaviours was close to $15 million. This company has been undertaking pure and simple profiteering at the expense of passengers and industry as a whole here in New South Wales and around the country. I note that Victoria has taken similar steps to introduce a 5% taxi surcharge, and I think that's positive, Mr Temporary Speaker. It's actually remarkable as well because of the very significant donations that Cabcharge has been making to both the Coalition Party, both to the Coalition and to the Labor Party in previous years. And I hope that that hasn't been the reason why Cabcharge has been able to maintain their anti-competitive and predatory pricing behaviour, in particular the predatory use of their payment instruments, which has meant that customers have to pay a 10% surcharge, which in any other environment would just be ridiculous. And hopefully the profiteering of Cabcharge has come to an end, and the mob that purport to be reasonable business people can actually see this racket come to an end to the benefit the surcharge doesn't go to the drivers.
It does, a portion of it does go back.
Yeah, but we won't get involved in debate here. So you think it should be 10% then, do you?
I didn't say that.
What are you saying?
A portion of the surcharge goes back to the drivers.
Right.
Point of order, Mr Acting Speaker.
The Parliamentary Secretary on a point of order.
Happy to reply to the interjection from the Speaker and say that I can absolutely guarantee
There is no point of order. There's no point of
back to
order.
the taxi drivers.
There is no
Thank you,
point of
Mr.
order.
Assistant Speaker.
Member for Balmain.
I'm glad that he called you by the right title, Mr Assistant Speaker, otherwise you would have been totally within your rights to be horrified. Absolutely.
I'm happy to make you horrified if you're allowed to take another point of order.
Thank you, Mr Assistant Speaker. So in this context, I am being positive about the steps the government is making.
Just wrong and incorrect as usual.
It's just wrong as incorrect. Well, if you think I'm wrong and incorrect in supporting the government, I'm happy to turn that around any time. But the fact is that we know, and that's why the government has taken these steps, that Cabcharge has been running a anti-competitive racket. And the federal court found in 2010 that in fact was the case. And I think it's the case now that the government are taking steps to try to resolve that, and they should be acknowledged, and they should take credit for that. It's also important, of course, as we've heard, that light rail and community transport fall under the purview of the Act. I have to say that, as we've heard other speakers say, as a former mayor myself, and as someone very involved in community transport, the community transport plays a very important role in the transportation needs of so many people in our community. In fact, it will only continue to grow as, of course, our population, our ageing population into the future continues to use these forms of transport. I also acknowledge the increased funding by the government. That's something that should be recognised. as the increased funding by 12 million over 4 years. I just want to ask a question, if I can, just about, Mr Assistant Speaker, page 64, Schedule 1, Part 2, about the powers to enter special premises without consent or warrant. It's not a major issue. I just wondered about this provision where a transport safety investigator can enter special premises without the occupier's consent and without obtaining a search warrant if the investigator believes unreasonable grounds is necessary to do so for the purposes of investigation and the investigation is into a notifiable occurrence. And of course the definition of a special premises is an accident site, which is quite broad. Premises that is necessary to get into an accident site or a vehicle. I just wonder, Mr Assistant Speaker, and I suspect that the Minister will be able to just identify this, where specifically that came from originally. Is that an amendment to already existing powers? I just wanted to get a sense, if I could, just about that. I don't think it's a major problem, but obviously when rights are given to enter premises and conduct searching without a warrant or without consent, it's just something that we should always be conscious of and just be aware of. And I'm sure the diligent staff in the department will know exactly where that came from and the origin of that, and if that is in fact new or it's just an amendment to an existing provision. It may well be the same as with the original Act. I just want to be able to confirm that. So can I say, Mr Assistant Speaker, that that there has been some significant positive steps forward. I noticed in the Transport Policy, Transport Policy 2014, there's only, we're just having a look at that, there's only one mention of taxis, point 40, to develop efficient and attractive interchange between different public transport types by including secure bicycle storage, Christian ride rail, taxi connections. So, you know, the issue of taxis is something which sometimes is not mentioned as much as it should, and it's important that we do recognise the important role of taxis and identify how it can be improved. Can I just finish, Mr Assistant Speaker, by just saying that we always need to remember the role of the drivers. The role of the drivers is so important because taxi drivers are at the bottom in many ways of the food chain. Customers often complain, well, sometimes complain about the service provided by taxis, but taxi drivers do work incredibly long hours in very arduous situations, often, as you know, subject to assault, to robbery, to in fact to murder. And it's important that in all these things we focus on the importance of protecting and supporting and ensuring that we have a proper income for taxi drivers. We also know that a lot in the taxi driving community come from non-English speaking backgrounds, they come from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, and it's important that we ensure that we give them all the support that we can to understand their rights and responsibilities, to make sure as well that we can ensure that the owners aren't ripping off and rorting drivers and making sure that they come out second best. And I'm sure that's something that we would all like to support. So thank you very much, Mr Assistant Speaker, and I appreciate your great service.